Hello everyone, welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin, and today we're going to be looking into 3 different paths and the potential that they hold for you in the new year. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so welcome back, my beautiful kindred spirits, for the last reading of the year. I hope you guys are doing well, and if you are new to the channel as well, welcome to you as well, joining us here as we move into a new year. It's always wonderful to see familiar and new faces here on the channel, so welcome to everyone. As we move into the new year, I wanted to do something really special, and I've had so much fun filming these for like the last couple of hours, so I hope you guys do enjoy here with me. We're going to be looking at 3 different piles here today and the path that you could take if you decide to plant the seed that is within each of them. So we're going to talk about more of it, especially when we get to your piles, so it'll make a lot more sense and when I explain each of the piles here. But if you are new, do feel free and consider subscribing to this new space, as I'm going to have a lot of new videos that come out every single Monday on this channel in the new year, and already have over 100 videos that you can check out. And if you have been here with me for the entire year, I just want to send a little bit of gratitude to those of you who have stuck around since the very, very beginnings of this channel, back when it was just this little seed, and how much it has grown. So I really appreciate those of you who have stuck around and have really interacted and supported this space. I really do appreciate it, and just want to send a little bit of gratitude to you guys. Before I get all mushy and everything, if you do want to support this channel, feel free to check all of that out down below. I will have New Year's readings very soon, if not already up, for you to check out if you want to look even further beyond this collective reading to specific personal things and private things that are happening in your life that we can really explore for the new year. So definitely check those out down below. They'll only be open for the first month of the year, so check them out. And with that all said, let's go ahead and look at these 3 different piles or paths that you could take. So I decided to pull out the Threadbound Oracle here today to pull out specific cards that I felt called to for you that are the aces of each of their suit. So you get to choose one of the 3 aces here today, or multiple. There's no right or wrong way. You can choose more than one pile. But here for pile number 1, we have the Ace of Ink. And it says here, pigment, alchemy, process, and experimentation. So that is pile number 1. For pile number 2 here, we have the Ace of Thread, and it is called fiber, wandering, warmth, and gentleness. So that is pile number 2. And then last but not least here, for the 3rd path or pile of your choosing for the new year, is the Ace of Paper, pulp, malleability, aptitude, and versatility. So that is pile number 3. So as always, before you start heading off to the timestamps and running off to your pile that you maybe have already chosen, or if you're not really sure yet, let's take some time to take a deep and cleansing, grounding breath here together for you to really connect with your intuition and which pile or path is calling to you most. So let's go ahead and take that deep cleansing breath here now. And as always, and as mentioned previously, there really is no right or wrong way here. You can choose one pile, you can choose a pile and flip-flop and change your mind. You can choose all 3 of the paths and explore and see which one really fits for you most. There's really no right or wrong way. This is a tool for you to use as you wish. All of the timestamps will be down below in the description alongside the chapter marks of this video. And with all of that said, let's go ahead and get started here with pile number 1. Hello Group 1, if you've decided to choose the path of the Ace of Ink, pigment, with alchemy, process, and experimentation, then this is the pile and path for you, as we are going to be looking into your new year and the potential that it holds. So this is going to be a very open-ended reading, as most of my readings are, and a more explorative one. It's going to be less about giving you direct, perfect answers, as we're going to be covering something that's covering such a large portion of time as a whole new year is, and using it more as a tool to navigate the new year and to navigate creating resolutions or creating goals and maybe opening your mind to new possibilities as well for the year. So that's what we're going to be playing around with here today, and we're going to be using the Threadbound Oracle, as you've already seen, as well as the Prairie Majesty Oracle and the Modern Witch Tarot and the Charms to play and explore here. But I want to start off first, and the most important part and key to your reason, with the ace and the idea and lore around the idea of an ace in tarot, or even in this oracle deck. And the whole point of an ace, it's the first in a succession of events, is the idea that it is the seed. It is the very, very early beginnings of an action, an idea, a thought, a dream for the new year. And yours revolves around the idea of pigment, alchemy, process, and experimentation, but also the idea that if you don't plant the seed, if you don't actually put this and everything else that we're going to be playing out with the cards here into motion, then the results that you might be receiving here won't actually come to be the fruits of your labor, So it's just a reminder that it is only a seed. It still needs time to grow. It still needs to be nurtured to grow, or it won't. So this may be the spark, the idea, the inspiration, but you get to take and do what you will with this path. So with that in mind, I want to start out by looking in the guidebook here, as Cedar, who wrote this guidebook, did such an amazing job, and I just feel like it might give you a little bit more of a well-rounded idea of the path that you are looking into here. And you can choose multiple paths, you can choose multiple piles here, but here is a little bit more about pigment here for you. So, like I said, alchemy, process, and experimentation. The Ace of Ink is subtitled Pigment, the source of color in liquids we know as ink, paint, or dye. Pigments can be found in nature or created synthetically in a lab. The trick is that you can't always tell by looking at a pigment the source of what color it will produce, if any. Some pigments require pH or chemical catalysts in order to show their true colors. Thus, this card represents a need for experimentation, a chance to combine radically different materials and see what happens. The focus here is on the process used to achieve our goals, not the goal itself. This card may indicate a need to switch things up and question your methods if you are going to get what you want, or you might get something you weren't expecting and didn't even know you needed. So some of the questions you might be asking as we move into this is, what are you experimenting with right now? What are you exploring through experience, and how can you learn through trial and error to focus more on the process than the goal or result? So that's sort of what we're working with, the energy and that idea. It reminds me, if you guys have ever worked with pigments, the idea of taking lettuce or cabbage. I believe red cabbage is one of the main sources of pigment for a lot of fabric dyes. But the thing is, when you create just the red pigment, or red cabbage pigment rather, it's one color. But if you add other elements like lemon juice or other things, it changes the color entirely. So you might start with something that was red and end up with blue or purple, which is such an unexpected result. So that's what we're looking for here. We're looking for what's going to be coming in for you in the new year by planting the seed, what unexpected results might appear and how they might benefit you by taking on this path. So I know, long-winded intro here, but we're going to start looking into the cards. So for you, I want to just put an open-ended question of how does this specific card, the Ace of Ink, by experimenting, by taking on the idea of process rather than focusing on the goal or the results, and really experimenting with that alchemical process, what and how is it best going to provide substance and also have this seed grow to bear fruit? So let's see what's coming in for you. Do feel free to send your energy in as always, and we'll see what's coming in. So how and why is it important for you to take this path? The path of process, the path of experimenting, the path of exploring, of process over result. Why is that important for you? So we have the World. We also have the King of Swords showing up here and the Queen of Pentacles. So I'm getting a few things right off the bat from this, especially with the world. The world is showcasing and always usually represents a lot of the time, especially in New Year's readings or readings closing something off or finishing something off, to wrap up those loose ends. That's what it usually represents, like wrapping up the loose ends, finishing things off, tying it off with a bow, or allowing yourself to really look back at the previous year and learn from it and grow from it. And that's going to give you a lot of fertilizer for this seed to grow. That's going to show you where maybe experimentation could be useful to you, or maybe in the previous year it wasn't utilized as much, and how it could benefit you. So I think really taking your time by journaling over this, taking your time to really look back at the previous year, contemplate the results, the fruits that you bared, the seeds that you planted energetically through your actions, through your habits, through your behaviors, how those maybe could be more playful, could be more open-ended and a little bit more experimentative. Because that's what's really showing up here, especially whenever we get such polarizing energies as both the King of Swords and the Queen of Pentacles, which in this case doesn't feel polarizing in like a resistance or a kind of grinding gears kind of way. Instead, I'm seeing that they're like really great allies, and not that they're actual people, but the archetype of the idea of these two energies, the King of Swords, the Queen of Pentacles, the King all about communication, logic, being very straightforward, looking and Googling everything, having everything planned to the T, and that also being in combination with such a nurturing, very grounded energy that the Queen of Pentacles brings. By having these two energies that feel quite separate from one another attract, to have those opposites attract, is reminding me again of that like red cabbage idea, that like if you take two different things that feel like they shouldn't work together and you just try them out and mash them together and see what happens, that's going to create really beautiful results for you. And again, it's more about the process here. It's not giving you an end result, right? We're talking about the previous year, how you can bring new things into this next year. But it's not giving you like, if you do X, Y, and Z, it'll give you the success that you're looking for. And rather, you're going to learn from each experience that you take. You're going to learn, and we talk about this all the time, right? Like, the idea that trial and error really does help you, that you learn from your mistakes more than you do from your wins. But that doesn't mean we don't really hope for the win. That doesn't mean we don't hope for the success. But sometimes, and I think it might be really useful to you, is to not necessarily hope or want things to not work out, but that every time something doesn't work out, every time you get that like weird explosion and poof from these experiments that you're going to be playing around with of polarizing energies and trying things out in unexpected ways, not following the, societal path, I think that you're going to grow so much more than you would if you just followed the path that you feel like you should be following, the path of success, the path of this has worked in the past, so I should just keep doing it. And I think that changing things up, transforming that, shifting those gears a little bit, to experiment again, to be the student again, to not be the teacher, to not feel like the master of something again, is going to be really important for you moving into this new year, and why this path is maybe calling to you as well. So with that in mind, I want to go ahead and pull you one more card, and then we're going to do a little bit with the charms in an interesting way here today. In the idea that the Threadbound Oracle is all about stories and can even be used for more than divination, but also story building, I thought, why not pull a card for character growth? So as many of us know, when we watch a movie or read a book, we're following a main character most of the time, and we get to see them grow throughout the story. So what character growth or arc are you going to be following in this next year? So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space by following this path, this story, this bend in the road. What are you going to be gaining most? And what would your character gain the most if you were a character here? Obviously, we're very complex characters. And you have, interesting, you have the earthworm. A lot of people don't like earthworms, right? Or they're very like, nobody wants a worm on them. There's this skittish feeling that I'm immediately getting just off of the energy of this card, and that feeling that even though you're hearing all this, I don't know if you'll necessarily feel like you'll actually plant the seed, right? It's like, oh, that feels like a dream. Oh, that feels so exciting, but I should stay where it's comfortable. I should stay where it's known. And the earthworm goes deep in the earth. It goes deep like the Queen of Pentacles does. They're very logical as well by coming up, and they're very smart, earthworms are. But they can make you, as a human, feel skittish or squirmish and like, ooh, I don't know. And I think that's just reminding you that the things that make you feel a little bit like a pushback are the things that maybe you should try exploring a little bit more. Obviously, to your own level, to your own needs, to what feels best for you, taking it as small steps, right? For me, things that make me feel like, ooh, I don't know if I can do that, could be something really simple like, I don't know, dyeing your hair, or just buying the skateboard so that you could learn to skate. Just making one small action. It doesn't mean you have to do the whole thing that you're maybe feeling a little squeamish or skittish about, but just taking one step is what is going to gain you the most character growth. The worm works slowly and works through the earth slowly, and I think that that's going to be useful to you as well, that this experimentation doesn't have to happen overnight. It doesn't have to happen so impulsively, but that is showing up here. Beyond that, let's go ahead and read what it actually says as well. It says breathe, and it also says, do I accept myself without judgment? And this is all about, how earthworms, if you've ever seen a lot of worms, right, they tend to have bruises and everything on the outside of them. They aren't afraid or worried about judgment in that way, or of beauty standards, or these standards that they're placing upon themselves, trying to hide all of the mushy, gushy parts of themselves. So I think a lot of your character growth, like I said, is about that pushback and pushing your limits a little bit, opening your circle just a little bit more, stepping just, a block outside of what you already know, but also to show yourself with a little bit more of that vulnerability to take those failures, those mistakes, those what felt like an embarrassing thing, and reclaim them as well, reclaiming them with pride, and a lot more confidence, and just being like, yeah, I did that thing. It wasn't great, but look at what I learned. Look at the reason why I did this. Look at how much and I just feel like you're going to be growing into that mindset as well, especially by moving through this path in this current year, or in this new year. So that's what I'm getting here so far from your cards. But like I said, I want to do something a little bit different than just tossing the charms right on top of the cards. And instead, what we are going to do, and let me just move this all around a little bit, is we're going to do something I do quite often on my Instagram. I tend to do every Monday some stories, posts on my Instagram all about your weekly intentions, and I tend to ask a question a lot of the time of what charm do you want to carry for the week, right? Like a lucky charm. And so these are going to be like your lucky charms that we're going to be pulling you for the year ahead. So let's see what those lucky charms are for you. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space as always, and let's see what lucky charms are coming in for you for the new year. So group 1. Okay, so we've got a couple of them here, quite small ones. Let me zoom you in so you can really see. So first off, lucky number 10 totally makes sense as well, because you also got the world card, which isn't represented by the number 10, but it always makes me think of 10 as a completion. 10 as finishing something off, finishing those loose ends. So you do have the number 10 being a number of luck for you over this next year. We also have a few different things. We have the leaf. This is like a tropical jungle leaf, which does make me think that you're like spicing things up, heating things up. Leaves also representing growth and to let things go, showing your colors. You could see that as well with like more of like a autumn leaf. So this could go many different ways, and definitely listen to your own intuition here. And these might not make sense until farther into the weeks as you get into the year and start getting this ball rolling and maybe moving down this path and this mindset of experimentation, process, and alchemy. But we do have the leaf here, and then and specifically a jungle leaf, which might be very specific to some of you. Like, it really made me think of like spicing things up, or that heat of the jungle, the rain also to clear things away. Interesting. You also got the rock here. This is a river rock, so it also makes me think that you're smoothing things over. Rivers might just be really specific places that are going to be really great for you to contemplate and look back over things. They also could just be in general, like, it's making me think of like skipping stones, right? Taking one step to get that ball rolling. So the first one is always the scariest one. It is always the one that you're worried it's just going to drop and it's not going to work. But that's the whole point of skipping rocks, right? Sometimes you just have to try until you either get lucky or learn how to do it. So that's what's showing up here for the rock for you. And then you also have this charm, which is the red roses. So something we haven't really talked about is anything related to love or romance or friendships or anything like that. And you have the red roses here, which usually represents an act of kindness or an act out of love, speaking your emotions, speaking your mind, and speaking your emotional truth. And so there's something showing up there that you might find yourself being bolder with a romantic partner, or there could be just like more spicy romance showing up here too, with that spicing things up. So that's just something to keep in mind too. Just a lucky charm would be red roses. So you might be seeing these signs as well as you move through the year. And then lastly, you have the bobby pin, which is an interesting one. And it's also a really accessible one if you truly wanted to wear a lucky charm every day, but not have it be super noticeable. Because the whole point of a bobby pin, and why I have it in my charm collection, is if you've ever used bobby pins before, you'll know that the whole point of them is them not to be seen. So it reminds me of like a selfless act, an act that you're not asking to be seen, you're not asking for for compensation, you're not doing it for the money or trying to do it for anything specific, but just from the kindness of your own heart. So this is all about selfless acts. So you can use this for lucky selfless acts, for acts of kindness, things like that are also showing up for you. So you have very unusual charms, but very beautiful ones. Ones on selflessness, skipping stones, jungle leaf, the red roses, and the number 10 being your lucky number. So those are all of the charms and cards here for your path of the Ace of Pigment. I hope you did enjoy. Like I said, you can choose another path if this one isn't calling to you. You always have the option to change your mind, especially at the new year. This is such a rich, beautiful time for mindset changes for everyone. And it's not because it's a specific, it might have stuff to do with astrology and bigger things like that and energy, but I just think it's a human experience as well to really open your mind to that possibility. So I hope I gave you some new possibilities, some new mindset ideas, and ways in which you could approach your new year. So there you go. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like, and let me know in the comments down below how it resonated for you, what you saw, what lucky charms you're going to play around with this year, and maybe why you felt called to this path. I'd love to know. And if you haven't already and you'd like to, I'm going to have a whole new year of channel videos to be put out every single Monday for love, career, spirituality, for self-growth, and hopefully some more new experimental ones as well, like this one. And if that's something that's interesting you, then do be sure to subscribe, as I'll be putting those out throughout the year. And also, if you want to check out the different ways you can support this channel or look further into this path and into the paths that you might have available to you, I will be having New Year's readings either up now or they will be up within the week. So definitely check those out down below as a way to support yourself and support the channel, because those are really fun and I can get really detailed beyond a more collective reading like we have here. So thank you so much for joining me here on the channel. Thank you for everyone who has been supporting me throughout this year. It's been a more difficult one on my channel. I've definitely been experimenting, trying things out, having to deal with algorithm changes and all sorts. So those of you who have stuck around, those of you who have checked out the community posts and have been liking, commenting, really being here on the channel, just know I truly, truly do appreciate it and love being able to do these readings for you. So thank you so much, and I hope and wish the best for your new year. Bye. Hello, Group 2. If you've decided to choose the path of the Ace of Thread, Fiber, with wandering, warmth, and gentleness here for Group 2, then this is the pile and path for you moving into the new year, which we'll be talking more on this card quite extensively, and how you could either choose this path or one of the other piles if it doesn't call to you, or you can choose more than one path. But today we're going to be playing around quite extensively on this card, and this entire reading is going to be more open-ended, more of a way to look into new possibilities, new options, and new ideas in which you can bring into the new year that maybe you didn't have previously, how you can contemplate, how you can maybe rewrite those resolutions or change things up a little bit. So that's what we're really looking into here today. It's going to be more of a tool than it is a specific, if you do this X, Y, and Z, this is what will happen. And it's more about playing around within this process here together. So if you're ready, if you have your intuitive hat on and your playful experimentative hat on, then we're going to go ahead and get started using the charms, a couple different oracle decks. The oracle deck that we are using here today is the Threadbound Oracle for your path, and the Modern Witch Tarot. So let's go ahead and just start looking into the guidebook, because as much as I love what I can come up with here, I just love the writing of the guidebook in this, and I think that it's going to give you a lot more information on the path that you've chosen here today and this new perspective that you can bring into the new year. So let's talk about yours here first. And I also want to mention, before we talk about that, even just in general, aces in any deck, in an oracle deck, and most importantly in a tarot deck, is all about a seed that you're planting for the new year, right? It's about what this path can actually grow for you. What's the point of it? So just like any ace, it is the potential for something to grow, but if you don't plant the seed, if you don't put the seed in the ground and let the roots grow and nurture it to grow, then it will never bear any fruit. So this is about taking this path and actually taking it on, putting action to the words here, to the ideas, to the thoughts, and letting them grow and be nurtured. So this is what we're going to maybe have growing for you. So it says here, as you know, the Ace of Thread, Fiber, wandering, warmth, and gentleness. In shadow, this can also mean being aimless, having apathy or animosity. So some of you might be feeling that moving into the new year, and this might be how you could create a shift as well. But it says, the Ace of Thread is the card of fiber, the raw materials we use to spin thread. Fiber isn't just yet thread, and it hasn't been spun into a straight line, and therefore is still free to float on the breeze or lay softly in its bin. There are still many ways it could be used. This card represents a sense of wanderlust, a desire to travel or drift curiously through unknown places in search of enjoyment. It is a light-hearted card associated with warmth and gentleness, like the feel of cotton on the skin. When this card appears awakened, it suggests letting yourself be free and joyful, open to anything that might come your way. So a very open-ended card in general, but I do want to just hold this up if you'd like to read the different questions in case you want to look even further in this reading. But some of the main questions here that you might be asking yourself is, do you feel the need to wander, leave, or travel? Are you being drawn to unknown places? Are you feeling restless, aimless? How can you invite warmth and gentleness into your life and direct it towards others and yourself? And do you feel like people need to be gentle with you right now? And what brings feelings of warmth into your life? So I know it's a very long-winded intro, but I really think it was really important to talk about what this path represents, what those 3 words of wandering, warmth, and gentleness really mean to you and how they're interacting with you right now, so that we can start looking into the rest of this path and how it will be most useful to you to plant the seed and have it actually grow and bear fruit for you. So for these next little bits, we're going to look into the idea that you do plant this. What will come of it? How could you use it? Why would it be useful to you? So let's see what that is for you. Do feel free to send your energy in through time and space here. And let's see, why or how would this be most useful to plant the seed and actually bear fruit, bear growth, bear healing, and this warmth? So first off, we have Temperance. I'll show it in a second. But I really want to get all 3 of our cards here. All right, so as I mentioned before, you have Temperance coming out first. Temperance having a lot to do with, interestingly, alchemy, which was the last pile, as well as mixing and mingling things. It also represents a balance, but this balance isn't like the Justice card where things are in equal balance and really well thought out. It is more about finding your own personal homeostasis, right? Your own personal balance and what that means to you. And so I think that makes me, I am interested to see how it interacts with the other cards here. So you also have the 9 of Cups. The 9 of Cups is the wish-making card, or the wishful thinking card, the making dreams happen, the manifestation card. So this is really beautiful to have already, because even on the imagery of your card, you can see there's these little dandelion little poofs or little seeds blowing around in the wind, which also represent wishes and wishful thinking and dreaming and wandering in that dream and daydreaming and seeing where those actually take you. So I really see that your daydreams, what you think is just a daydream, what you think is only kind of detached from yourself, detached from your life, is actually, when attached, when followed down this path, something that will bring great fulfillment for you and make you feel more confident in your skills and in your emotions towards your journey, right? A lot of you might be feeling kind of aimless, and that's what I was feeling when I feel like a lot of you might be feeling that shadow feeling of this card, that feeling of aimless, feeling a little bit directionless, or feeling like your journey has no meaning. Like, what is the point? Where am I going? Why am I doing this? And it just feels like it doesn't have a lot of purpose. And I feel like this year you're going to be gaining a little bit more insight of why there is a purpose to what you're doing, that it isn't aimless, it isn't for no reason, and that feeling of floating is going to start spinning into the thread, is going to start gaining purpose. And so that's what I'm already getting here just from your 2 cards, is there's a lot of purpose that's coming here, but it's going to be so personal, and it's also going to gain you, like I said, a lot of strength and a lot of confidence in your skills and in yourself and in your wandering not being for no reason, right? You might have people in your life that are like, hey, you probably should be doing this job, or you should take that path, or, you know, they have so much 2 cents going on around you, and that it's hard to listen to your own voice, or maybe you're not even sure what your own voice is right now. As an artist, I know a lot of artists feel like they need to have a perfect specific style, right? Or a specific niche, or maybe some of you have a business and you feel like you have to have a specific niche or a specific thing. And if you wander, if you try something new, if you play around in this weird floaty state, then you don't have purpose. But sometimes purpose is expansion. Purpose isn't being the master of one thing, but being the jack of all trades, and that actually being an asset for you, being a reason for your journey, having a purpose. And your purpose is not to have a niche, isn't to be pigeonholed into one spot, but to be able to shift, to pivot, to change, to replace the cogs in the wheel and put new ones in. So that's what I'm already getting just from your cards. Like I said, I'm not getting anything really specific, like this is about career, this is about your love life, this is about your relationships, or anything else you could think of. I said this to group 1, but it really does feel like a mindset. But I would say if anything is coming up here, I know we have a lot of cups showing up, so it does feel emotional based, but I feel like it has a lot to do with career for whatever reason is coming up for me, for you. It has a lot to do with career, your personal skills. Maybe people think it's like you're taking maybe a painting class, or you're dancing, or learning to skate. And maybe people or yourself, maybe you have no one in your life that's like telling you off about it, but even yourself, maybe you're just like, why am I doing this? I started this maybe for a reason, but maybe you lost the reason along the way. I think you're going to gain that reason back. So it's, if anything, it's to keep, strength has a lot to do, this card has a lot to do with endurance and withstanding something. And I think continuing to be that little dandelion poof, kind of moving through the wind and just trusting and surrendering into that process is going to be worth it. I think that you're really going to bear a lot of really beautiful fruits from that. And that your skills that you're learning, the things that you're interested in, aren't for no reason. They do come with purpose. Even if the lines don't make sense right now, even if the threads aren't connecting right now, allowing them to be in this fluffy state of not really making sense, being kind of a confusing mess. And as weird as this sounds, I honestly think it's going to be most useful to you to be a little bit more malleable, to be a little bit more like not trying to make things connect, or that things don't have to make sense for it to be real, or for it to be something that your heart or your mind still desires to go after. So that's what I'm really getting from your card so far, but I do want to pull you one more card, and then we're going to be doing something a little bit different with the charms here today. But if you are enjoying this reading so far, if you are finding it useful, do be sure to give this video a like. You can also check out the Kindred tip jar down below as a way to support the channel. But I do want to move on to the next card, and seeing as we are basing this off of a deck all about storytelling, I thought how telling and beautiful would it be to pull a card on what sort of character arc growth or character trait that you're going to grow most in this new year, right? So if we ever think about stories, we always think of the character maybe starting out in one way and ending with so much growth by the end of the story, by the end of the movie, by the end of the cartoon, whatever it is that you're watching or enjoying. So what is that character arc for you? So let's see what you would gain most from this wandering path. So group, and do feel free to send your energy in. It's feeling a little fluffy. Group 2 or path 2 here. What do we got? So the one I decided to pull out that just kept hitting my finger here was stink bug. So it says flip, and it also says, how does the situation look and feel from a different point of view? Which most of this entire reading is about kind of changing your point of view and looking from a bird's eye view, a close-up view of your situation, and kind of reanalyzing it, reclaiming it, rehashing it, to look at it from a new point of view that could benefit you. So already we have that going on, but just in general, something to keep in mind, a character trait that you could really take on this year is the idea of flipping your situation. Whenever you feel like you're stuck or without purpose, maybe change the point of view that you're looking at it. That might be through a physical action that you could take by journaling about it, if you're feeling like maybe I shouldn't do this thing, maybe trying it anyway, or talking it out with a friend. You could also do it through like writing it out on a piece of paper, or to throw paint at the wall, or do something more cathartic if you wanted to. But the point is that you're flipping the situation, you're changing your point of view, maybe even physically changing your point of view by like doing something silly, or putting on different glasses and looking at a vision board that maybe you have, or something like that. But flipping it on its head, not letting it get stuck as one way, right? If we think about the thread, right, the whole point of the thread is we're taking all these fibers that are still fluffy, they haven't been made into thread yet, they're still wool, they're still fur, they're still acrylic, or whatever it is that you're creating this fiber. And before it becomes thread, it still gets to be loose. So keeping things loose and not having things get pigeonholed into one point of view, one way of being, I think is going to be really important for you, and reminding you that you can take the thread apart, right? Threads can be taken apart as well. So that's what I'm really getting for your character growth, is that you're flipping your point of view. You're able to change not only how something looks, but how something feels to you as well, to gain that purpose for why you're wandering, and why that isn't always a bad thing, right? Not all those who wander are lost. So that's what I'm seeing here for your cards, but I want to do something a little bit different with the charms. Instead of just casting them to get more details, I thought I'd do something similar to what I do a lot of the time on my Instagram stories. If you guys haven't seen those before, I do Monday card polls where I do multiple choice questions that you guys can answer about your intentions for the week. And a lot of the time I like to end with charms that you can choose to carry with you for the week, to be sort of a lucky charm or a way to grow. And today I want to do that for you. So these are your lucky charms or lucky symbols that you're going to have show up for you over the next few months and into the year. So let's go ahead and see what those are. Do feel free to send your energy in as always. And let's see your charms, your lucky charms, your wandering charms for this new path, group 2. Okay, so interestingly, you also got a number. Last pile also did. So you get a lucky number. Your lucky number for the year is the number 8. 8 reminds us of like the infinity. It reminds us of figure eights, maybe even figure eight skating if you want to be really technical about it. But the idea of 8, the idea of infinity, the idea of cycles, divine and useful cycles in your life as well, something like that. And also the idea of spinning things into thread, right? So we do have the number 8 here, which has a lot to do with abundance. We have the flexibility charm. So this one is a more mundane thing, but the idea of it is being flexible. So that's showing up here for you. You also got the little flower locket. This makes me think of your inner child, or my personal inner child, as I had a locket like this as a child. But the point is, like, something that might be really lucky for you is understanding why you have things that you are holding within and holding close to you, and maybe opening that shell to find that purpose again, to find the reason why that feels like it's been hidden for so long. So the idea of lockets, keys, locks, that kind of imagery is going to be really lucky for you, or going to give you a lot of growth. This also has a lot of really beautiful floral messages in here too, with the design. You have a sort of flattened sort of rivet looking bolt, so that might be showcasing to you that you can shine anything out. It's a really interesting one to have as a charm. Interestingly, you also got one of the same ones that group 1 got. So you also might have been watching both piles, which would be interesting. If you did, do let me know if you got both these. But the red roses, the idea of the red rose, which totally makes sense for your pile, because it is all about finding that purpose again. So if that comes to finding your purpose in career, or finding your purpose in your relationships, as roses have a lot to do with relationships, emotions, and all of that, you might be refining your purpose to be with the person you're with, to find a person, to or people, friendships even. There's a lot of purpose to life, and maybe that having to do with love and things like that. It feels very deep. So this one feels really significant for you. The idea of the red rose, or roses in general, and floral shapes have come up twice. And then lastly here, you have this very dirty now, but it is a green eraser. So the eraser being able to, again, flip things over or restart to begin again. The eraser is a reminder to you that you can always begin again. You don't have to wait for the new year to begin again, to come up with a new point of view, right? We have the opportunity to do it multiple times in a day if we wanted to. We don't only have the idea to do that in the morning, at the sunrise. It can happen at sunset. It can happen in the middle of the night. Whatever works for you. But the point is that you always have that availability to begin again, even when you feel like you're in the depths of something and that it will never erase. Right? You always have the option. It might take a little bit of work, but it's definitely there. So those are all of your charms and cards here. Group 2 and pile of the wandering, sort of traveling wanderlust. And I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, like I mentioned, do be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below if you felt called to these lucky charms or if you had other things that were coming up for you. I would love to hear your thoughts down below. And also, if you are new to the channel, or maybe you haven't already, maybe you've been here for a while, do feel free to join our Kindred Spirit space here by subscribing, as I'm going to be putting up a whole bunch of new videos in the new year, experimenting and wandering and playing around on this channel here with you for all different types of pick-a cards. So if that interests you, if you want to seek those out and make sure that you can see them, also, not only can you subscribe, but you can also hit the notification bell to stay updated. And beyond subscribing to this channel, if you want to support it as well, as we are this small little community, I really do appreciate any support that comes through for the offerings that I provide. And I'm going to be providing, if I haven't already, I'm going to be filming this quite early, so I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing, but I will be doing some New Year's readings as well in the new year. So if you want those to get a more specific information on this specific pile or onto other paths that you might be taking in the new year, do be sure to check all of that out down below in the description. And you can also check out the other things that I offer down there too, alongside the Kindred tip jar. And before I end all of this, if you made it all the way to this part, I just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to everyone who has supported me over this last year and the years since I began this channel all the way back in 2020. I really, truly do appreciate it. I've been wandering and floating and playing around here with you all and just kind of seeing what happens. So I really appreciate you being here, especially since things have been quite difficult for the channel this last year in terms of algorithm changes and trying to keep up to speed with different video ideas and all sorts. So truly, I do really appreciate all the support that's come through with anything you've done, subscribing, liking, commenting, checking out, and supporting all the different ways. I really do appreciate them, and they do not go unnoticed. So thank you to everyone. I am wishing you so much luck, so many wishes, so many daydreams to come true for you in this new year, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello Group 3, if you've decided to choose the path of the Ace of Paper Pulp with malleability, aptitude, and versatility, then this is the pile or path for you to enjoy and to adventure into for the new year. So you've chosen this path for a reason, so we're going to really explore this path here in a moment and the idea of the ace and what it really represents for you, using the charms, several different oracle decks, the Modern Witch Tarot, and of course the Threadbound Oracle. So I just want to remind you as we move into this reading that you're open to choose any one of the piles. You can choose all three of them, take tidbits from them, see what comes through for you. There's no one path that you have to be set on. This is very open-ended and meant to be more of a tool to change your mind, to shift your perspective, and to help you contemplate the year before so that you're able to really run with this new year in a way that would be more towards your vision and to align with you. So with that in mind, I want to talk about the idea of the one that you've chosen, and we're going to talk about this for quite a little bit, but then we're going to be moving into quite a few other things as well to add to it. But whenever you see an ace in this deck, or specifically a lot of the time a ace of pentacles or ace of swords in the tarot deck, a traditional tarot deck, it always usually represents a seed, the very beginning potential for growth. And that's what's most important. It's potential for growth, but it doesn't necessarily represent growth in and of itself. It represents being able to have the option, the opportunity to grow, but it doesn't actually mean that you will grow if you don't take time to plant the seed, to nurture the seed, to make sure it grows and bear fruit. The only way that that happens if you take action on it, if you change your habits, your thoughts, your ideas, and you actually take action and forward momentum on this path. Whether slowly or quickly, impulsively or calculated, it is still reminding yourself that this is just potential unless you actually act on it. So we're going to just see what potential there is with taking this path of malleability, aptitude, and versatility by the idea of creating paper and what that represents. So with that all in mind, let's talk about what is written in the guidebook, because I absolutely love this guidebook for this entire deck, and Cedar did such an amazing job, and I just feel like we're going to really explore your path. Why not explore what it also says here? So let's go ahead and do that here together. So let's see. It says the Ace of Paper. Awakened, it is malleability, aptitude, and versatility. But in shadow, if you're feeling a little bit uneasy about this path, it might be because you're feeling a bit of stiffness, ineptitude, or limitation. So it says here, pulp is the mashed and beaten fibers that are combined with water to create a slurry, which is then layered into thin sheets to create paper. Pulp comes from many plants and animal sources and needs to be processed before it's ready to become paper. This card represents a state of malleability and a readiness that comes before the act of creation. In this stage, the fibers are still loose, not yet bound to any dry, solid sheet. They can be manipulated in many ways, and different fibers will create different kinds of paper. Thus, it represents versatility and ability to become many things. In this state, choices are still open, and anything, truly anything, is possible. So with this entire deck as well, it tends to talk about different questions that you can also think about as you move into this, maybe journal on if you want to, as we move through this reading. But it says, how can I, or you, how can you be malleable and change based on the situation that arises? What skills do you possess? How can they shape your future and the story that you want to create for the new year? What are your limitations? And do you need to be more flexible or increase your skill level in anything for this to become what you wish it to be? So that's what we have here already for yours. And as someone who actually does create handmade paper by taking old sheets of paper and mashing them up and shredding them up and making paper pulp to create new paper, I can say that any paper, all the paper in the world, can be rechanged and manipulated and shredded and put all the way back into the blender to create something new. So right now you might be feeling like your life is heading in a certain direction that feels off, and it feels stiff, and it feels like this cardboard piece of paper that you can't change, and that it is and always will be this way. But I can promise you that you can take that. It's not easy, but one layer apart and apart and apart, and piece it all the way down to those base layers. Change up the fibers, add new fibers, and you can get a completely different result using the same pieces, right? Not new pieces. You don't have to go to a whole new space, but just taking where you already are and changing, flipping the point of view, adding in new habits, new spices, new things to your life in order to change and create a new result for yourself. So you're currently going down the path of that sort of malleable mixing process of the idea of the Ace of Paper. So with that in mind, with the idea of the path that you've chosen here, let's see if you do take the potential, if you do actually plant this seed, what fruits will you bear, and how is that going to be most useful to you? Why is it something that is calling to you? So we're going to explore that here with tarot today. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space. As always, that always makes a huge difference, especially in collective readings like this. And we're going to see what comes through for you on the how and the why this path has called to you. Why specifically this ace, this seed, this path? of malleability, aptitude, and versatility. Why do you feel called to maybe make these changes to change the landscape that you're currently in? All right, let's see one more here. One more. What is the last lucky duck here? So you had the King of Pentacles fly out, and I'm going to go ahead and let that go ahead and pop out for you as well. But I felt really called to the star and the entire idea that we've been talking about already, and that popped out as well and was specifically being showcased by the signifier of my deck right below it. So I felt called to pull you 4 cards instead of the typical 3 that I've been doing. But the ones that you got here, you have the King of Pentacles, the 4 of Wands, the 6 of Wands, and the star here. So let's see. Okay, so first off, one really great thing that you're getting here, a really good maybe push just to start you off, is that you do actually have the card of victory. This is the 6 of Wands, and the 6 of Wands represents, and they even have like a little victory earring on, and typically are, charging on and being recognized for their success. This 6 of Wands is showcasing that you do have a lot of success and you will bear a lot of beautiful, inspired fruits from what you would be planting through this. So by making those changes, by maybe shifting your personal paper, foundation, or landscape, right, that's stiffened, hardened, kind of, it reminds me of like a desert, like of clay in the desert, right? It's not growing as much as it could have and used to. Adding new elements, adding new things, adding new people even to join you on your path this year, collaborate with you even, could give you a little bit more of that success and victory that you're looking for. So maybe that's adding another person to your team, maybe that's a new coworker, maybe that is, I just feel like it's not really about changing the whole landscape, but adding a new element in that will fundamentally change the landscape that you're in right now, your energetic landscape, whether that's in career, whether that's in romance, whether that's in friendship, or anything else you could think of. That seems to be really successful. And on top of that, you got a lot of other successful ones showing up here. The King of Pentacles, a very successful person. And then you also have the 4 of Wands, and the 4 of Wands usually represents getting the ball rolling on something too. So if you've also been building something, probably something that's really passionate and inspiring and personal to you, very personal to you, that you've been trying to grow and work on, again, whether in career, relationships, or any other part of your life that you can just pinpoint right now. Whatever that is that you maybe feel like you've been struggling with or hasn't been going in the right way, you're going to start gaining the right momentum by, one, bringing in, again, another person. I keep seeing that come in many different times in many different ways. Again, it doesn't have to be romantically. It could be platonically. It could be by gaining a lot of advice and wisdom from a loved one, a grandparent, anywhere in there. But someone is being added to the story, to your story this year, that is going to be fundamentally, because even the 4 of Wands and the number 4 represents foundations, fundamentally to what you're trying to grow here. And again, you're in that very pulpy stage, right? It's still like a slurry, a slush. It's not stiff and hardened yet. So that foundation is still in its process of growing, and that's what's going to happen this year, is that you're not necessarily going to have everything figured out, but there is a lot of success being shown here by adding new things to that paper, to that slurry, to that pulp, before it becomes something solid. And then, like I said, with the star is showcasing more of that idea of mixing and mingling something new in to that slurry, and that it's going to make you maybe feel a little bit vulnerable, a little bit like it's a new person to something. Maybe you've always been working solo, or you've always done things a particular way, and you're not sure if that change up, that new perspective, that, regardless of who you bring in, no matter how similar they are to you, they're always going to bring in some new element. And that might be a little scary. It might be giving you a little bit of fear. It might even excite you, but also be a little bit like, I don't know what result you'll get. That unknown is what's going to create such a solid foundation for you, because it's not about your perspective that's being brought in, it's about their perspective and how it's going to add to the situation. So that's showing up here as well, is to allow yourself to sort of surrender to the process, to allow yourself to kind of be a little bit more malleable, like they were talking about, being a little bit more possible, but more positive or optimistic to possibilities that they might bring to the table. And this person that might be coming forward, and maybe that's why we're feeling multiple ones here, might be a King of Pentacles energy. The King of Pentacles doesn't represent only males. It can be anyone of any gender, but it basically just represents someone who's really, really good with their money, really good at budgeting. They're a type of person that really looks after their body. That doesn't mean they have to be fit or slim or small or whatever you might be thinking in that way. It just means that this person is really interested in looking after their physical health, or looking from a new lens in that way of physical health. They're also, because they are in the pentacle suit and they're the master, the most skilled in this suit, they're going to be giving you a lot of advice in those different ideas too, of home, of things that are tangible that you can hold, of spending and money and management and admin sort of things. Like, it feels very businessy. They are on the top of their game with this sort of stuff, which maybe will make them feel a little bit stiff at first. They might not always be the most fun person, but they are very capable people, very skilled people. They have a lot of skills for sure, and they're bringing those skills to the table to really help you build foundations, because it seems like you have a lot of inspiration, but you maybe don't have all of those foundational things that you need to add to this recipe. So that's what I'm really seeing here for your card so far, is that you're adding someone new, adding a new element that either is a person, or just in general you're really gaining and becoming this person by gaining new skills and learning those skills to add them to your foundation, right? So it doesn't have to be a person necessarily. So with that in mind, I want to go ahead and pull you one more card here. And this card is going to be a really fun one. And I've done it sort of similar before in a couple of other videos, but I want to play around with the idea of character growth, right? Because this specific deck is all about stories. So what story are you moving into this year, right? This is that new path, this new story, this new character that you are becoming. And in that arc, what character growth are you going to gain most? So what is the character growth in your story that you're going to gain most this year by following this path and the potential that it holds? So as always, feel free to send your energy in. I don't know if I'm feeling, because several cards fell, but I'm going to go ahead and take this top one anyway. Underneath it was the dragonfly, in case that resonates for anyone as well. But what I'm feeling here with this one is it's the deer mouse. So mice might just be really important to you, in the idea of being able to... I just got the idea of, like, mice can always find another way, right? They always find another way in. They always find an unexpected door. They always find an opportunity that anything is possible, even if it seems very difficult, right? They're always going to find a way into your house, or into that tent, or into that cave, or whatever it is that they're going to. So I immediately got that feeling. But I also feel called to this idea of that nesting, and would more tenderness help? Nesting making me think again by having someone being added to that foundation. Again, maybe some of you are adding this person in as a realtor agent, and they are helping you find a home, right? That's a physical thing, a tangible thing that you're trying to bring and build a foundation. It might be a family. Maybe that's how something is being brought in. Something tangible is being brought in, and it's a nesting phase. Something that makes you feel like you have to put all these pieces together and create a really cushioned nest. So that's the building blocks of this paper that you're building, this lane that you're building, this new foundation and new path. And with the more tenderness part, it's making me think also that the character growth that you're going to be growing into is not only to give yourself some more leeway, a little bit more leeway than you're giving yourself right now, because I feel like you might be wanting to have these skills right away, or you're feeling like by adding someone in, that means you're not good enough, or something like that. it's a reminder, and you're going to grow through this a lot this coming year, down this path if you decide to take it and plant that seed, is that tenderness, that being vulnerable by opening yourself is your strength, and that it can gain a lot of confidence in you and allow you to be a little bit more tender with yourself. And by letting someone else come in, it might also give you more time to be tender with yourself, because you're maybe having a little bit less workload or a little bit less on your plate, or you have someone who can make it a little bit easier for you because you have that nest, you have that foundation to fall back on. So that's what I'm seeing here from your cards. But as I said, we're going to be playing around with the charms a little bit differently here today. But before we move on to those, if you have been enjoying this reading, do be sure to give this video a like as well. It really just helps the channel, and I really appreciate it. But what we're going to be doing with the charms, I'm going to have to move these out of the way a little bit, but what we're going to be doing with the charms here today is I'm going to be casting a few charms specifically on this little mat instead of on all of the cards, to look into your lucky charms. I do this quite often over on my Instagram with my Instagram stories every Monday. I like to do different multiple choice questions and Monday card polls, and in them I tend to ask people what charm they'd like to carry with them this week as like a lucky charm or as a growth charm for them. So I want to see your lucky charms for the year. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space, and we'll see what those are for you. So here we go. Group 3, the Pope. Okay, so we got a couple of them. Trying to roll around here. Let me zoom you in so you can see them a little bit closer. Okay, so the ones that I felt super called to, like I immediately had to pick up these, were these little chess pieces, which I think is really interesting, these game pieces, these chess pieces. And the ones that called to me most was like this knight. So maybe imagery of knights or imagery of more medieval things. You might find a lot of signs and signals, because these can also be lucky charms, but they can also be ones that are signals and signs of affirmation or reminders of this path for you. And some of those might be the idea of a knight, also the idea of chess, strategy of chess maybe, or playing games with others or something like that. Not like playing games, but like physically like playing a game might be something that would be a really lucky situation for you. Maybe how you even meet this person might be through something like that. So keeping that in mind, because we had that as well as the pawn showing up. And then you also got really coolly is the lucky charm of the lucky penny. So for some of you, heads is lucky. For some of you, tails is lucky. It's a very much a preference sort of thing. I think it's interesting though that you got it on the one that's actually creating a foundation of a home or a space or a physical place, versus like thinking with your head and thinking more with that stability side. So there is a lot of luck in moving, traveling, or finding a solid home or foundation again this year. How many times can I say foundation? I don't know, but it feels very important. You also got the pearl charms. This represents like a pearl, so a pearl necklace or something that you could physically wear. Also finding maybe pearls on the beach, or things that just feel like shiny little things that you could pick up like a crow or a magpie would. So that's showing up here. Pearls also have a kind of remembrance feeling to them as well. So a lot of lucky memories that might spark something in your situation. Sometimes we forget about people or things until we look back at old notes on our laptop from 5 years ago, or an old photo or that old journal, and that's going to maybe be a lucky place for you. And then lastly here, which is really fun, you also got a key. So keys can be great places of and sources of reminders for you about this path. And also this specific key reminds me of like the Ace of Swords a lot of the time. So again, you have another ace potential energy that comes through. Keys also represent not only being able to open doors, but also close and create boundaries as well. So that is what I have coming in for you for all of your charms and your cards here for your reading. I do hope this was useful to you moving into your new year. If it was, do be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below how it resonated for you, what lucky charms you're looking forward to, or anything that you'd like to tell me down below. I really do love hearing your guys' thoughts and feedback. And also, as we're moving into a new year, I'm going to have a whole new year of Monday videos coming up with pick a card readings and other educational videos on love, career, spirituality, charm reading, tarot, and all sorts. So if that interests you, do be sure to subscribe to this little community space on the internet. I really do appreciate it, and would love to see and read more for you. You can also stay in touch with those and stay updated with those by hitting the notification bell. And also, if you want to support this channel even further, do be sure to check out the different readings that I have out for the new year, either now or will be coming up in the coming week, as I'm recording this quite early. I'm not exactly sure when the drop will be, but do be sure to keep a lookout for those. All of the information will be down below if you want to look even further into this specific reading or a reading of your choice around the new year. I'll have many different options for you and price points, so we can look very specific into your situation. And also, I do make handmade spell and ritual paper that you can check out as well, which I think is just funny with your specific pile. So do be sure to check that out, or the Kindred tip jar down below to support this space. And lastly, and most importantly, I just want to send some gratitude and thanks to everyone who has supported me in the past year or years since I started my channel back in 2020. The algorithms and everything has been changing a lot in the last year and over these last couple of years. So having some of you and all of your faces come back and check back in with me and see different readings that we're up to and all that kind of stuff, and just interacting in this space and having those friendly faces and familiar faces. I just really appreciate having you all here, and all of your comments, your likes, your support, all of that does not go unnoticed. So I really do appreciate it, and I'm wishing you a wonderful, beautiful, malleable, and wish-fulfilled new year. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.